The long road to the sky. It was a rainy afternoon in Mumbai. Thick clouds hung low, and the roads were filled with people rushing, honking, trying to get through the usual chaos. But amid all the noise and movement, a young woman stood still at the bus stop. Her name was Meera. Meera was only 22. In her arms, she held her baby girl, barely 3 months old. The baby was wrapped in a thin pink blanket that had faded from too many washes. Meera had no umbrella. Her hair was soaked, her sour kameez clung to her skin, and her feet were cold. But her eyes, large and brown, were focused on the bus coming. Down the street, she had one goal that day, to get to the airport, but not to fly. No, flying was not for people like her. She was going there to work. Meera had been offered a temporary cleaning job at Terminal 2 of the international airport. It didn't pay much, but it was enough for one meal a day and a place to sleep in a shared room. She took the job because she had no other choice. Her husband, Rohit, had disappeared a week before the baby was born. No phone call. No letter. Just vanished. Some said he had gone to Dubai for work. Others said he had run away. Meera stopped asking. She had a baby now. She had no time for stories. The bus screeched to a stop, splashing water as it pulled up. Meera stepped in, clutching her baby tight with one hand and holding the pole with the other. People stared at her, some with pity, some with annoyance. The baby started to cry softly. The ride to the airport was long. The baby cried again. Meera whispered, sang a lullaby, rocked her gently. No one offered her a seat. No one smiled. But then a voice spoke from behind. You can sit here, said an old woman, her voice dry and cracked like old paper. Meera looked down. The woman had lifted herself up, leaning on a stick. She smiled. Her eyes were kind. Meera sat. She nodded, grateful. The baby slept. By the time they reached the airport, it was almost dark. Meera got off. Her shoes were muddy. Her back ached. The baby had woken again, hungry. Inside the terminal. The world was different. Everything was bright, clean, cold. Glass. Everywhere, people spoke in English. Luggage rolled smoothly across polished floors. Meera felt invisible. She walked to the staff entrance, showed her temporary badge. The guard didn't even look at her face. Her shift began. 6 hours. Cleaning. Restrooms, picking up trash, wiping windows. She had to keep the baby with her in a sling. They allowed it only because she had no one else. They said if the baby cried too loud, she would be fired. It was during her break, at 2 a.m, that she first saw him. He was tall, thin, and wore a simple blue shirt and dark jeans. No bodyguards. No one walked with him, but everyone seemed to notice him. Some whispered. Others stared. Meera didn't know who he was. The man sat on a bench near gate B17. He had no luggage. Just a book in his hand and a bottle of water. He looked tired, but peaceful. Meera cleaned the windows beside him. He looked up, smiled at her. She quickly looked away. She wasn't used to being smiled at. You have a beautiful baby, he said. Meera. Pause. She turned slowly. Thank you, sir, she whispered. What's her name? He asked. Tara, she replied. Like the stars, he said softly. Meera didn't know how to respond. Her break ended. She walked away, but something had shifted. The next night he was there again. This time, he sat on a different bench, still alone. Meera cleaned him once more. Again. He smiled. You work hard, he said. She nodded. You remind me of my mother, he added. Meera was confused. Why? She worked just as hard. Maybe harder? She used to carry me like that while walking miles to the bus stop. Meera didn't know what to say. Do you fly often? He asked. She laughed once, not out of joy. I have never been on a plane. He nodded. Maybe one day. Meera looked at him again. Something about his eyes felt familiar. Kind, steady, warm like a memory. What's your name, sir? She asked. He smiled again. Sundar. Meera thought that name sounded familiar. But she didn't ask more. For the next 3 nights, Sundar returned, always alone. Always reading or sitting quietly. On the fourth night, everything changed. A flight was delayed. Then another. Passengers filled every seat. Some were angry. Others were tired. A mother shouted at a staff member. Someone started recording with their phone. Me are a single quotes. Baby cried. Loudly. Too loudly. Supervisor came running. You can't work like this, he snapped. You'll disturb the passengers. I have no one, Mira said quietly. Please, just give me 10 minutes. But the man shouted more. People began to stare. Some took pictures. Sundar stood up. Stop, he said, gently but firmly. The supervisor turned. This woman is doing her job, Sundar said. Better than most. Sir, this is none of your... She deserves respect. People stopped talking. Even the baby went quiet. Meer looked at him. Her throat burned. Her chest ached. Then a man walked up and whispered in the supervisor's ear. His eyes widened. He looked at Sundar again, this time with fear. Sir, he said, I didn't know. Sundar didn't reply. He looked at Mira. You're doing fine, he said. She blinked. Once. Twice. The man everyone had ignored for days. Was someone important. Someone very important. But she still didn't know. Who? Not until the fifth night. When she boarded a flight to Delhi. With Sundar sitting right beside her. But why she was on the flight and what happened next. Was something she could never have imagined. The flight to nowhere. That plane was colder than Mira expected. The air smelled of lemon and metal, a strange mix of cleanliness and something older, something tired. The seats were blue, smooth, and tighter than they looked on TV. As she stepped inside, holding her baby close, her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from disbelief. The moment felt too big, too strange, too far from anything she had known. Only 12 hours earlier. She had been cleaning airport toilets. Now she was walking down the aisle of an airplane, holding a printed boarding pass given to her by a man she barely knew. Didn't understand any of it. After the incident with the supervisor, Sundar had asked to speak with her privately. They met near the staff corridor, away from the crowd. She held her baby tight, still expecting something bad. But his words had changed her world. He told her that he was going to Delhi the next morning. He had a private event, and he wanted her to come just for a day, he said. You deserve a break. Mira had shaken her head instantly. I can't. I have work, and I don't know anyone there. And this baby... But Sundar had smiled calmly, the same gentle smile he gave her every night near gate B17. I've made arrangements, he said. Your job is safe. Your baby will be safe. Come as my guest. No expectations. Just ... come. Mira couldn't believe the words. They didn't feel real. She didn't know this man. She had no reason to trust him, but there was something in his voice. Not pity. Not charity. Something deeper. Something sincere. So against every instinct, Mira said yes. And now here she was, sitting beside him. Her baby wrapped snug in the same thick pink blanket, the soft hum of the engines filling her ears. The flight. Attendants walked down the aisle, offering tea, juice, snacks. Sundar declined. Mira took a small packet of biscuits and a bottle of water. She had never tasted filtered water before. They didn't talk much at first. Mira kept her eyes on her baby, who had fallen asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling like a whisper. Sundar opened a small book and read silently. The plane began to move. As it lifted into the air, Mira gripped the armrest tightly. Her stomach turned. Her ears popped. The ground shrank fast below her. She had never seen the world from this high. Her eyes widened. Roads looked like threads. Buildings like matchboxes. Clouds rolled slowly beside them, like slow waves of cotton. A tear escaped her eye, but she quickly wiped it away. Sundar noticed, but said nothing. Instead, he handed her a soft tissue from his coat pocket. She took it with a shy, "Thank you. After some time, Sundar closed his book and turned toward her. Do you know who I am now? He asked gently. Me hesitated. Your name Sundar. I've heard it, but I don't really know. I don't watch the news. He nodded. That's okay. I'm the CEO of a technology company. Google, Mira blinked, then slowly shook her head. I don't understand what that means. It's a company that builds tools on the internet, like search engines, email, maps. Mira looked down, embarrassed. I've never used the internet. That's okay too, he said. She didn't ask any more questions. But a quiet understanding settled between them. He was a man from another world. And yet, he had seen her after some time. Mira leaned her head back against the seat. The baby shifted in her arms. Sundar watched quietly, then took off his jacket and folded it into a soft cushion. You can rest, he said. Here, use this. Mira hesitated, then gave a small nod. Her head rested gently against the jacket, but the movement of the plane and the warmth of her baby made her drowsy. Her eyes closed slowly. Sundar remained still. Asterisk, he glanced at her, then looked out the window. The clouds outside were thick and silver, glowing under the early sun. Inside the plane, most people were asleep. The world felt quiet. And then, slowly, Mira's head slipped to the side. And rested gently against Sundar's shoulder. He didn't move. He simply sat there, eyes forward. Calm. The baby shifted slightly, curling deeper into her mother's chest. A soft sigh escaped her lips. Mer. I slept peacefully. No dreams. No fears. For the first time in years, her body rested without tension. 30,000 feet above the world. A young woman who had scrubbed toilets with cracked hands was sleeping on the shoulder of one of the most powerful men on Earth. And she didn't even know it, but not everyone on the flight was asleep. 2 rows behind. A man in a suit was watching them. He held his phone low, pretending to scroll, but his camera was pointed directly at Sundar. He took a photo. Then another. And another. He sent a message to someone. Then smiled to himself. Sundar didn't notice. His thoughts were elsewhere. He thought of his own mother, how she had walked miles to get food when there was no bus fare, how she had cooked on the single-burner stove in the same pan every night, how she had gone without new clothes for years so he could have a school uniform. He remembered how it felt to be invisible, to be poor, to be powerless. He never forgot. And now, as this young mother slept beside him, he felt the old ache again, not pity. Something deeper. Respect. And knowing. The plane began to descend. The light came on. Mira stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked up. Her head was on his shoulder. Baby was still asleep. She gasped softly and pulled back. Her face flushed with shame. I'm sorry, sir, she whispered, panicked. I didn't mean to. It's okay, Sundar said. You were tired? I didn't mean to fall asleep on you. You needed rest. You have nothing to apologize for. Mira looked down, unable to meet his eyes, but before she could say more, a flight attendant walked over, holding a small note. Sir, she said, handing it to Sundar. This was just delivered to us. Someone passed it from the back. Sundar opened the note. His face changed. He folded it quietly and put it in his pocket. Mer noticed the shift in his expression. What is it? She asked, her voice small. Nothing important, he said. But his voice was tight. The plane landed in Delhi. As they stepped off, cameras were already flashing. Reporters were waiting. Mer flinched at the noise. She held her baby tighter. Someone shouted, Is she your wife? Another yelled, Is that your secret child? Sundar stepped forward quickly, shielding Mira with his body. Enough? He said calmly. Security moved in, but the damage was done. Someone had sent the photo. A poor girl with her baby, asleep on Sundar Pichai's shoulder, and the world was already writing the story for them. Asterisk, louder than truth. Mira never liked cameras. Even as a child, She would turn her face when someone tried to take her photo. She always believed that some people were meant to be watched, and others were meant to watch. She belonged to the second kind, quiet, unnoticed, safe in the background. But that belief shattered the moment her foot touched the ground in Delhi. They weren't even fully out of the plane tunnel when the first camera flash hit her eyes. It felt like lightning, sharp and blinding. Then came the voices. Loud. Aggressive. Who is she? Is this Sundar's secret? Who's the child? Sir, are you making a political statement? Sundar didn't respond. He raised his hand slightly, a silent signal to his security team. They formed a gentle but firm wall around him and Meera, guiding them away from the gate. But the noise followed. The cameras kept clicking. Even airport staff stood frozen, some filming on their phones. .me air single quotes. His heart raced. She felt her baby stir in her arms. The little girl began to whimper, bothered by the lights and the noise. What's happening? Meera whispered to Sundar. Her eyes darted everywhere. She felt like she was drowning in sound. Someone took a picture on the flight, Sundar replied quietly. They sent it to the press. They think you're someone ... But I'm no one, she said, confused. That's why it will get worse, he said. They moved quickly through a back exit. A black car was waiting. Sundar opened the door for her. Meera stepped in, cradling her baby. The door shut. The world went silent again, but the silence wasn't peace. It was heavy. Strange. Meera looked out the window. More cameras. More people. More eyes. Sundar sat beside her, calm but distant. I didn't ask for this, Meera said softly. I know. He replied, Why did you bring me here? He paused before answering, because you reminded me of something important. And I wanted to show you that the world is bigger than pain. But now the world is looking at me like I did something wrong. He didn't respond. The car moved through the traffic. Horns blared outside, but the windows blocked the sound. Where are we going? She asked after a while. Somewhere safe. A place to rest. You and the baby need it. The car turned into a quiet lane lined with tall trees. Beyond the gate stood a white building, simple but elegant. Not a mansion, not a palace. Just clean, open, and peaceful. The car stopped. Inside. A kind woman greeted them. She was older, maybe in her 50s, with silver hair tied in a bun and eyes that studied Meera gently, without judgment. Welcome, she said to Meera. This will be your room. Everything you need is inside. Clothes for you and the baby. Food. Diapers. Please rest. You're safe here. Meera wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but her body said no. Her legs were heavy. Her back screamed. Her arms were numb from holding the baby for so long. She stepped inside the room. Soft bed. Warm light. Folded clothes. Soap that smelled of jasmine. It felt unreal. She laid the baby down on the bed. The little one slept, unaware of the storm her mother had just walked through. Meera sat beside her. For the first time in days, she let herself cry, not just for the cameras or the fear, but for everything. For being 17 and married. Rohit, because he had a kind smile, for working night shifts while pregnant, for hearing whispers behind her. Back every time she walked into a room with her baby. For being invisible all her life. And now suddenly being seen in the worst way. Meanwhile, in another room, Sundar sat at a desk. Looking at his phone. News articles were already live. Mystery woman with Sundar on flight sparks rumors. CEO of tech giant spotted with baby on shoulder. Who was the poor girl who stole Sundar's heart? The comments were worse. Some were cruel. Some called Meera a gold digger. Others called Sundar irresponsible. A few defended them. Most didn't care about the truth. They just wanted a story. He sighed and put the phone down. His assistant called. We can do damage control. Deny everything. Say she's a charity case. Spin it. No, Sundar said. Don't spin it. Don't lie. Then what do? We wait? But not everyone was willing to wait. The next day, the house phone rang. Someone had leaked Meera's identity. Her photo, her name, even her neighborhood in Mumbai. Journalist now stood outside the house gate. and on the other side of the city. Something far more dangerous was happening. A man walked through the streets of Mumbai. Pulling his hood low, he stopped at a local pan shop, picked up an old newspaper. On the front page was a blurry photo of Sundar, Meera, and the baby. The headline read, "Unknown girl and child shake tech world." The man stared at the image for a long time. Then he smiled. "So you're still alive?" He whispered. His name was me, or single quotes. His husband. The one who vanished before the baby was born. And now he wandered back in. Asterisk. When ghosts returned house in Delhi, it was quiet that morning. Not peaceful quiet like that. Silence right before a monsoon storm. Every window was shut. Curtains drawn. Outside, beyond the tall gate, cameras waited. Not many, just a few. But enough to make the air feel heavy. Meera stood near the window, holding her baby. She didn't move the curtain. She just stood staring at the soft light on the wall, listening to the distant sound of a car engine passing. The baby cooed softly. Meera kissed her forehead and whispered her name. "Tara," she said gently. "Your name means star. But right now, it feels like the sky is falling." She had barely slept. After the media storm, Sundar had insisted she stay. Indoors, he brought in staff to care for her and Tara, made sure they had everything. The fridge was full. New clothes arrived in neat bags. She was treated like a guest, like someone who mattered. But outside, the world was writing its own version of who she was. And now her past was writing one, far away. In the city she once called home, Rohit stood in front of a cracked mirror, adjusting his shirt. He hadn't seen his reflection clearly in months. Since he had vanished, he had lived like a shadow sleeping in borrowed beds, working illegal jobs at shady construction sites, gambling, losing, begging, repeating. Meera had been the only soft thing in his life, and he had walked away. Not because he didn't love her. Not exactly, because love had never been enough. She had gotten pregnant. Money was tight. His ego was tighter. One night, with only 30 rupees in his pocket and a stomach full of rage, he had boarded a train without saying goodbye. And now here she was, on every screen in every shop, her face on every news channel, holding a baby. His baby. Beside Sundar. Pichai. Ted laughed the first time he saw it. Not because it was funny, but because it was unbelievable. Is Meera, who used to walk 4 kilometers for water, now sitting in business class with the richest man in tech. But the laugh didn't last. Anger crept in, then jealousy, then something darker. "She was mine," he muttered. "She left me." His friend looked up from a nearby bench. "You left her, bro." Rohit didn't reply. His eyes stayed locked on the screen. He didn't like being replaced. Especially not by someone like that. In Delhi. Sundar sat in a study room with his laptop open. His phone was buzzing nonstop. Emails. From the media, from board members, from people trying to understand what had happened. Why he had brought a woman and child onto a plane. Why he was being so quiet. But he didn't answer any of them. Asterisk. He just watched a video that had gone viral overnight. A 30-second clip taken by a passenger. It showed Meera asleep, her head gently resting on Sundar's shoulder, the baby in her arms. Sundar not moving, just sitting there, steady, still, like a statue made of patience. There was no scandal in the video, no crime, just quiet. But people didn't want quiet. They wanted drama. A knock on the door broke his thoughts. It was the housekeeper. "Sir, the girl would like to speak with you." "Of course," he said. A few minutes later, Meera stepped into the room, Tara in her arms. She looked tired, but her eyes were clear, focused. "I want to go home," she said. Sundar nodded slowly. "I understand. But are you sure it's safe?" "It doesn't feel safe here either," she said. "Everyone's watching. I can't breathe." "You don't have to rush," he said gently. "This house is yours as long as you need." She looked down. "I never asked for any of this. I know. I just wanted a job, food, a bed for my baby. And you deserved all of it and more." She blinked. Once. But now people think I'm something else. What people think doesn't change who you are. She sat down slowly, cradling Tara. The baby had fallen asleep again, soft breaths escaping. Her lips, "Can I ask you something?" Mira said. "Of course." "Why did you help me?" The question hung in the air. Sundar leaned back in his chair. His eyes softened. "When I was a boy," he began, "I lived in a one-bedroom house. We had no fridge. My mother walked miles just to bring home a cylinder of gas. My father read newspapers. By candlelight, but they never let me feel poor. They made me feel ... hopeful." He paused. "And then I came to America. And the world looked at me differently. Sometimes with respect, sometimes with doubt. But never with understanding. No one saw the boy from Chennai. Just the man in a suit." He looked at Mira. "When I saw you at the airport, holding that child, cleaning glass with one hand, calming her with the other ... I saw my mother. And a part of myself." Tears filled Mira's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I didn't do anything special," she said. "You survived," he said, "and that's always special." They sat in silence. No more words were needed, but outside something was. Coming ROHI to reach Delhi by nightfall. He had taken a bus, then another. No money, no phone. Just a photo of Mira from the newspaper. He asked around. Showed the photo. A tea seller near the airport gave him the name of the street. "You're looking for the girl with the baby, right?" The man said. ROIT nodded. "She's inside some rich man's house. Hasn't come out in 2 days." Rohit's fist tightened. He walked. Every step felt heavier. When he reached the gate. He paused. The cameras were gone. Just one security guard now. Chai smiled. "I'm her husband," he said. That the guard looked him up and down. "Name?" "Rohit, Mira's husband. I need to see her. Do you have ID?" Rohit hesitated. "No, but just tell her I'm here. She'll know." The guard frowned. "Wait here," he said. Inside. Sundar and Mira were finishing dinner when the guard knocked. "Sir, ... A man is outside. Says he's her husband." Mira froze. She didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stared ahead. "Should I send him away?" The guard asked. Meera slowly turned to Sundar. "What do I do?" She whispered. He didn't answer because only she could. And the decision would change everything. Asterisk. The weight of unfinished things. Air inside the house grew still. No fans moved. No footsteps echoed. Even Tara, asleep in a crib nearby, didn't stir. Mira sat frozen, her hands resting on her lap, eyes staring at nothing. It felt like the ground had opened under her and she was suspended somewhere between. The past and the present. The guard's words repeated in her mind. "Your husband is outside." She hadn't heard that word, husband, in almost a year. Not since Rohit disappeared. Not since she cried through contractions alone, clenching a hospital bedsheet, while a nurse whispered that some men just leave. Not since she had stared at Tara's tiny face and promised herself that her daughter would never know the name or OIT. Now here he was, outside, asking for her. Sundar sat across the table, watching her carefully. His face was calm, but his hands were folded tightly together. Even this wasn't a moment he could lead. It belonged to her. "Do you want to see him?" He asked gently. Meera didn't answer. She stood up slowly and walked to the window. Pulled the curtain aside just a little. There he was, leaning against the gate. Same tired eyes. Same crooked stance. The same man who had vanished like smoke and now reappeared. Like a storm. He looked thinner, rougher, like a person who had walked through 100 nights without sleep. But his expression wasn't broken. It was bold. Like he had come to claim. Something let the curtain fall. "He left me when I needed him the most," she said softly. "When I was too pregnant to climb stairs, when I was getting sick every morning. He left without a word. No note, no call. You don't have to let him in," Sundar said. "But he's Tara's father? Biologically, maybe. But being a parent is more than that. Mira looked at him, her lips trembling. If I don't speak to him now, I'll always wonder what he came to say. Then I'll be right here, Sundar. Said Dot. She nodded once, then walked toward the door. Rohit was pacing now. The guard had returned, but said nothing. Just stared at him like a man watching a slow fire. Then the door opened, and Mira stepped out. She was wearing a pale yellow kurta, her hair tied back. Her eyes were red from too many sleepless nights, but her spine was straight. Her arms were empty. She had left Tara inside. Rohit smiled first. A nervous, twitchy smile. Mira, he said. She didn't reply. He took a step forward. She didn't move. But good, he tried. Silence. I saw you on the news. I couldn't believe it. You, on a flight with that man. What's his name again? You know who he is. Yeah, the internet guy. Why are you here, Rohit? Her voice was flat, cold. I came because I saw my wife and my daughter. You left both. He rubbed the back of his neck, looked around. Things got bad, Mira. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have money or work. Or I didn't want you to see me like that, so you vanished. I thought I'd go earn something, come back, but nothing worked. I messed up. I admit it. You missed her birth. He looked down. I know. You missed her first smile, her first steps, her fever, her first word. He looked up, pain in his eyes now. What was her first word? Light. Rohit's lip trembled. But Mira didn't soften. You weren't there, Rohit. You abandoned us. I didn't mean to, but you did. A long pause. Then he said the word she never thought she'd hear. I want to come back. Mira blinked. Once. Twice. What? I want to be a father. A husband again. We can leave this place. Start over. I'll do better this time. She stared at him, stunned by the casual way he said it. Like he was offering to fix a broken chair, not a broken family. And what made you decide this? She asked. You were on the news, he said too quickly. With him, you looked ... happy. And there it was, not guilt, not love. Jealousy. Her heart sank. You don't want me, Rohit. You want the version of me the world is watching now. That's not true. You want to stand in the light, but you left me in the dark. I came back, didn't I? You came back when the cameras did. His mouth opened, but no words came. Mira stepped forward, her voice steady now. I raised our daughter without you. I begged for work. I lived on half meals. I cried in silence so she wouldn't feel my pain. And now, when someone sees my worth, someone who doesn't owe me anything, you want to return? Mira, please ... No, she said. Her voice cracked, but she didn't cry. You don't get to call me your wife, and you don't get to call her your daughter. Not yet. So that's it? You want to be a father? She asked. Prove it. Not with words, with time, with truth. Rohit stood frozen. The gate between them felt like a wall that would never move. Again, Mera turned to go, but just before she reached the door, she stopped. I'm not the girl you left behind, Rohit, she said without turning around. And I won't shrink myself again to fit your version of love. She walked back inside. Sundar stood in the hallway, waiting. She walked past him slowly, eyes ahead. How did it go? He asked. It's over, she said. Or maybe it's just beginning. She walked toward Tara, lifted her into her arms, and pressed her close. The baby yawned, then nestled against her mother's chest. Outside. Rohit stood at the gate, still staring ... at the house, not at the cameras, but at the space where a family used to be. He had come looking for something he thought was his Dot, but he left realizing it never was. Asterisk and inside. Sundar looked at Mira as if seeing her for the first time all over again, not as someone who needed help, but as someone who had already survived everything meant to break her, and yet the world outside was not done with her story, because that evening, a new video surfaced. One that twisted everything. Someone had leaked private footage from inside the plane. Voiceover in a language she didn't speak. A story that wasn't hers. A lie that millions would believe before she could even speak. And suddenly, the world turned again. But this time, it turned against her dot asterisk louder than lies. Softer than truth be the time the sun rose over Delhi. Mira's name was no longer just a name. It was a headline, a hashtag, a weapon, asterisk. Overnight, someone had uploaded a shaky, grainy video recorded on the flight. It began with a close-up of Sundar's shoulder, Mira sleeping on it, her baby in her arms. Then came a slow zoom out, followed by a whispered narration, not in English or Hindi, but in a language foreign to her ears. The words were soft, almost respectful in tone, but the subtitles added by the uploader changed everything. CEO caught with mystery woman and love child. Is this his hidden family? No one knew who posted the video. It came from a faceless account, then spread like fire and dry wind. By morning, it had 3 million views. The comments were worse than before. Uglier, louder, more certain. I knew it. She's gold digger. Classic. Poor women always find rich men to cling to. How can he fall for someone like her? This has to be staged. He's ruined now. Some people defended her, but their voices were drowned out by the noise. Truth was outnumbered by opinion. Mira stared at the screen. Her hands were shaking, her breath shallow. She wasn't crying. The tears had already come and gone. This wasn't sadness. This was something else. A kind of hollow disbelief that comes only when you're misunderstood so deeply that even defending yourself feels pointless. Sundar sat across the room. He was on the phone with someone in his legal team, perhaps, or a board member. His tone was calm, composed, but his eyes flickered every few seconds toward Mira and the baby. He finished the call and sat beside her. She didn't look at him. They don't care about what really happened, she said finally. Her voice was low but steady. They just want to believe the worst. Because the worst is easier to sell, Sundar said. It gives them something to point at, something to feel better than. I didn't do anything wrong. I know. Then why do I feel ashamed? He didn't answer right away. He knew that feeling. It was the same one he had carried as a boy with holes in his shoes, sitting in classrooms filled with privilege. It was the quiet belief that you had to work 10 times harder just to be seen as equal. Because the world doesn't run on truth, he said gently. It runs on perception, but truth still matters. Not to them. Then we stop trying to talk to them and start talking to the ones who do listen. That afternoon, Sundar made a decision. He canceled his remaining meetings. Then he asked Mira if she was ready. For what? She asked. For the truth, he said. To speak it. In your words, your voice. She hesitated. They'll twist it. Some might. But others are still watching, waiting. Let them hear it from you. She looked at her baby, then back at Sundar. I'm not a speaker. I barely passed school. I clean bathrooms. That doesn't mean your voice is small. They'll say I only got attention because of you. Then show them why they were wrong to doubt you. An hour later, they sat in front of a simple camera, set up in the study room. No studio lights, no script, no fancy background. Just Mira, a chair, and a heart that had nothing left to hide. The video began with silence. Then she spoke. Her voice trembled for the first few seconds. She looked down, then looked up again. Stronger. My name is Mira. Pause. I come from a small village outside Mumbai. I moved to the city when I was 19. After my marriage, I worked as a cleaner, a cook, sometimes both. Last year, my husband left. I was pregnant. Her fingers gripped her kurta. I had no money, no help, no future. Just a child who didn't ask for this life, and a promise I made to her to never give up. She took a deep breath. I got a cleaning job at the airport. I carried my baby with me because I had no one to leave her with. I worked night shifts, cleaned bathrooms, windows, trash bins. Her eyes glistened now. And then, one night, a man sat on a bench near my cleaning station. He smiled at me. Asked my baby's name, that's all. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. He just treated me with kindness. Another pause. I didn't know he was someone important. I only knew that he saw me. Like a person, not like a stain to scrub off the floor. Her voice cracked slightly. He offered me a seat on the flight. No promises. No lies, just a gesture. I was tired. I fell asleep. On his shoulder, and someone took a picture. She looked directly into the camera now, and now the world thinks they know my story. They don't. Her voice was steady now. I'm not someone's scandal. I'm not someone's secret. I'm not a mistake or a strategy or a shame. I am Mira. I am a mother. I am not weak. I am not ashamed. The video ended there. No music, no hashtags, no brand. Just a message. And the world listened. Not all of it. Not the loudest part. Not the angriest. But the ones who mattered. Women who had walked alone to clinics with swollen feet. Mothers who had begged for jobs with babies in their arms. Fathers who had grown up on ration rice and broken sandals. Young girls who believed that only beauty bought attention. And slowly, something shifted. Not dramatically. Not instantly. But enough. Me. A single quotes S video was shared by activists, teachers, influencers who had once been invisible themselves. Listen to her. See her. This is what dignity sounds like. And the noise began to fade. A week later, Mira stood in front of the same airport where she used to mop the floors. This time, she wasn't in uniform. She was holding Tara. Sundar stood beside her. He was flying out again, back to work. He looked at her and smiled. How are you feeling? She smiled back. Lighter. You sure you're okay being back here? This place fed me, she said. It doesn't scare me. Not anymore. What's next for you? I don't know yet, she said honestly. But I'm not afraid to find out. He nodded. Before he turned to go. He handed her a small envelope. What's this? She asked. Something that belongs to you. She opened it. Inside was a scholarship. Full funding to a digital literacy program. Plus childcare. Her hands trembled. Why are you doing this? She asked. He smiled. Because the world needs more voices like yours. And your daughter needs to see that silence is not her only inheritance. Tears welled in her eyes again. But this time, they were warm. As Sundar walked into the terminal, another flight waiting for him. Mira stood holding her baby, her back straight, her eyes clear. She wasn't a story someone else wrote anymore. She was the writer now. And for the first time in her life, the world wasn't something to fear. It was something she could walk into. One step at a time. Asterisk.